Okay, well, I had the privilege of working with him twice, Faye and Jeff together once, and then Jeff with another person. And we were in complete crisis. We have 5 adopted children, 3 of which definitely had RAD diagnoses, or pretty much, on that spectrum. And we were just completely at a loss. We didn't know what to do anymore. We were like, nothing we did to connect with them was working. There was a lot of behavioral problems that were happening. So, yeah. We had the privilege of, and still do have the privilege of, having a BHDS worker, which is, I think it stands for Behavioral Health Development Services. And because we had so many different children that had issues and we were in crisis, basically, we had to pick one of the children to be the primary goal, I guess, the primary client, I guess. But because it was family-based, it helped us with all of our kids. So the BHDS worker told us what to do. And we actually had to go into I think it was the BHDS services themselves, and to fill out paperwork there. And we had to get a special waiver, because at that time they were not even helping people in Lancaster County. We had to get a special waiver. Each county has them. So Lancaster County, it's called BHDS. In Reading, it's called a SAM worker. I don't know what the other counties call them, but that's my extent of knowledge of that. And it's free services available to you. They help you navigate the system, basically. I remember one of the counselors or therapists we were working with recommended them. They had worked together with them with another client and recommended them. So we requested them. Like we were given other options, but I didn't want anybody else but them. Honestly, I'm not positive. And because I'm part of a foster adopt group. So, we share a lot of information on Facebook. So I'm not sure if that was actually how or not, but we had family-based before. That was your typical family-based thing, which was helpful, because we were newly adopted parents, and that was helpful. But once we realized what kind of diagnoses we were dealing with and the crisis that we were in, we wanted someone that knew and specialized in RAD and trauma. And a lot of the family-based teams don't. They just don't. They don't have the knowledge that Faye and Jeff have. No. I mean, except, waiting to get approved and getting a waiver, through that we had to file and everything. That was the main thing. Mm-hmm. And then I think, if I remember correctly, we might have been on a small waiting list. I'm not sure, but I didn't care. I just wanted them. So. No judgment. There was no judgment. I just really appreciated the fact that I could be completely real with them, especially when we had my sessions with them, or my husband's and my sessions, that we could just be honestly real. And, even if they gave me homework and I didn't get it done, or I didn't try the new things, the strategies that they told me to try or whatever, there was grace, and I just felt really comfortable with them. And it was really beneficial knowing Jeff's background before he started working with Faye, and then Faye, and her, the fact that she had, a child that had the same diagnoses. It was mostly just with me, just because of my husband's work schedule. But that he did attend some. And yes, they did work with my kids for sure, but a lot of it was giving my husband and I the knowledge that we needed to understand trauma and how my kids' brains actually work. And also to honestly, to give me hope because there was a lot of days where I felt very hopeless. And yeah, I always felt so much better. like if you could imagine, like I would open the door and it was like I had like a 30-pound sack of potatoes or something on my back because of the stress or the, that had happened the week before or whatever. And by the time they would leave, it was gone, or it definitely alleviated most of it, and I felt like, okay, I can do this. So it's good.
Well, what we would tend to do, and we do this is a standard kind of approach. We help the parents understand what's going on for their children as far as the early trauma goes, how it's impacting their lives, where the damage is in their brain, and then give them interventions to try to help the child with the fear that's engendered by that early learning. Probably Jen will remember that one of the first things that we discussed was why the pure behavioral management techniques weren't working. Which, when you've dealt with a variety of other services who have been telling you to intervene behaviorally, reward and consequence, sticker charts and all that stuff. When that doesn't work, parents often feel very like they're the failure. They're doing what they're being told to do, but it's not working. And then with that, as we went over with Jen, what that does, that facilitates the child's internal working model of I'm bad, my caregivers are bad, the world is a dangerous place. It starts to migrate into the parents. So we try to put an end to that migration. Okay. And then we give strategies that do work at helping the parents understand what's going on. And that's how we stop the migration. Then we try to give them techniques of how they can actually help the child deal with the fear that's going on for them, in situations that you wouldn't normally think were so fearful. And the goal is, of course, that as a child reduces the fear, the problematic behaviors that come from the fear, just disappear.
I think honestly, it was positive the whole way around. I don't remember feeling like any ups and downs there were times when I felt better, like, oh, I can really do this, or I can, that makes sense, or, whatever. We had a sibling group of 3 that became very traumatized, and they were all at varying degrees. I know that the work that we did with Faye and Jeff the first time with our first child that was the identified client, like that really worked. She still has some rad tendencies, but we're definitely able to, she's in a totally different place.
And we did very little work with her in particular.
Yeah.
So those changes were you, Jen.
Thank you. The thing that I remember most is and it was very hard for me is working. I don't know if it was, I think you called it empathy. Just really, or like getting into if the child was really upset, like almost imitating or like getting upset with them and saying how much, that really does suck, or what, sorry, I shouldn't say that. That really would be painful or whatever. But, and just really acknowledging it. And then trying to go from there. Like that was hard for me because a lot of times the way I was raised is you just pull up your bootstraps and you move on. So yeah, that was really good for me.
Actually, that we call that the intentional affect matching.
Yes.
Element number 4.
Yep.
And that for just about I've only ever run across one person in all the years we've been doing this who has told me that that was not the hardest part.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is definitely the hardest part.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, and I still struggle with that. Like there will be conversations or things that will be happening and their behaviors. And I'm like, I can hear Jeff in the background, and like, literally I can see him in my living room giving me examples, and I have to sometimes just stop, remove myself from the situation and then go back because I have to get myself where I need to be. Lying was a huge thing, hoarding, and also just we weren't connecting. Like she would connect with everybody else around her, like her Sunday school teachers or her teachers. Everybody was her best friend, adult wise, except for my husband and I. Wow. So, and then also having the tools to go to teachers and go to Sunday school teachers and say, hey, my child has this diagnosis. We're dealing with this. I really need you to basically keep an arm's length and let me be the one that gives her the comfort or give her the reassurance. So that was really helpful as well. And Jeff and Faye even came to our church and did a training for like our friends and different church members that wanted to be involved, just to kind of say, this family's in crisis. These are the things that you need to understand about what's going on in their home, but then this is how you can help them. So it was very, very beneficial. I know for myself, self-regulation, really being able to know when I need a timeout. So and like I said, the matching affect thing, that was really, really changing for me. I'm trying to think of, there's just been a lot of positive things that have come out of it. And also, like we worked with Faye and Jeff many years ago, and then again, but it's like, I feel like so comfortable going to them if I have any questions or if I need help with anything. Even though I'm not their client, I don't feel like they would turn me away, if I have questions or something like that. Oh yeah, absolutely. People from we have a very close knit group at church, and the families that know us, that have walked the journey with us, absolutely have seen the difference with that one child in particular. What has, that it worked. And that it still is working. What?
When we came in as family-based is the last service to be authorized before out-of-home placement. Mm-hmm. So when she says that, the thing to remember is she had already gone through, theoretically, all these other levels of service. Mm-hmm. So when she says that it works, it's hard to imagine what the system is doing to people right now and has mm-hmm. been doing for a long time. But as sad as it is, that is, that's a big thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's so many, I can't tell you how many different behavioral charts we had and all these different things that we had that just wasn't working. And to be able to, I'm not perfect at what I was taught, but it stayed with me. It was so influential in me that it's not like they left and I forgot what I was taught. And that things just went back to the way it was. It didn't. So it's not, we have good days and bad, but it works. The main reason is that they truly understand what we as parents are going through. There are a lot of therapists out there that have all the book knowledge, or head knowledge, but do not have the experiential knowledge that you so desperately need. for parents with kiddos that are this traumatized. You really have to have understanding of it, and they truly have that understanding. How fun they could be. I mean, we had fun too. Jeff would make me laugh a lot. So, I mean, you don't expect that for therapeutic times. And, there was a lot of tears as well, but there were also some happy times and just, jokes or whatever that just kind of like broke the seriousness of the moment, that just kind of helped you like, okay, I'm all right, so yeah. I would say that it's worth the investment of the time. It is worth the investment of the time. A lot of times, parents, and I feel this even now at times, because of all the things that our children are dealing with, it creates it's kind of a whirlwind all the time. And sometimes you feel like, I just don't have time or the energy to put into that. Like, I would rather just keep muddling along, and trying to live life, because I can't imagine making that hour of time or those 2 hours of time a week or whatever. But it's worth the investment, most definitely. I don't really know of anything except, when it was family based, it was for a certain amount of months. The only thing I would have liked to have seen is maybe a longer time. Even though we knew what we knew, maybe, a check-in like a month down the road, or, once you're, what I mean? Something like that. But other than that, I think just more time just to glean from them a little bit more. That's it. Life-changing.
Well, that's flattering.
Well, it truly was. I mean, our situation, we had Hope, and then we have David. But even though David's situation wasn't the same, what you taught me did not go for nothing, and one thing that I really gleaned from that situation, honestly, was I did the best that I could, and, I felt really supported by you guys, and really, I just felt like you were in my corner. You wanted our whole family unit to survive and to thrive, but it wasn't just about the kids. It was about all of us,
The entire family unit.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Some of my family and friends walked away from that, and they actually came up to us, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. How can I help? What can I do? And, eventually the training or whatever, like, it kind of falls to the wayside as far as family members and friends. They're really with you there at the beginning. And then some fade away, but those that really got it didn't and haven't. I mean, we've had our kids now for almost 10 years, and you were probably at year number 3, maybe. And I mean, we still have that same close knit friends that were at that original training. So. Oh, absolutely. I know one family in particular that came, actually ended up having family base with you. I don't know if you knew that or not, but yes. And she actually, I believe, is part of your support group as well. So yes, absolutely. Definitely gives hope and understanding. But like, I remember the 2 baby talk, and that will forever stay in my mind, and that will forever, I mean, anybody that hears that and has children that are adopted, They will never forget that. From then till now, I mean, back then, I would say we were impacted greatly by the fact that Gary and I became a united front. And it really helped him understand what I was going through. So it just really impacted us as a couple. But then, and it helped us love our kids more because we had more empathy for them or understanding of where they're coming from. It wasn't like, this is a personal attack on me, which is how it felt. But long term, I would just say the knowledge and the things that we learned during that time has just continued throughout our life. And we haven't had any regression,
Wow.
Sure, we have bumps, hurdles, or we might have a period of time where, certain times of the year, things get a little rougher, but we never regressed. Yeah, absolutely. We have one adopted child who has had really no trauma per se in her life. She came to us when she was 7 months old. But there's still trauma. Like you don't realize it, or it may not be as evident, but that trauma started in the womb. So, yeah, there's still trauma. So absolutely. It might not show up in the same ways as the other kids, but it's still there. Just a long-term connection, or a connection that, yeah, I don't know if I can say that or not, but it is the truth. I saw Faye at a retreat that I went to for foster and adoptive parents. They remembered me and made time for me. And that's just the type of people that they are. And they truly care about the individuals that they work with. The first time was probably 7 years ago. And then the second time was probably 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. Besides what they taught me, I would say the most important thing for me, or the most beneficial thing for me, was I did not feel judged. I felt like I had a safe place to go. And that is, the teaching is awesome and you need that, but in order to receive that teaching, you need to feel safe.
And our system, children's mental health system, is not always safe.
That's correct.
That's sad, correct. But true.
That's very true. $20. No. Yeah, definitely recommend. Yeah. We're actually trying, well, I don't know if we can say this or not, but we're actually trying to set it up for them to do training for us at our church again. So